If you're enjoying haunted UK fiction, please consider supporting the show on Patreon or Ko-fi. Simply search for Haunted UK Podcast. It wasn't dramatic at first, just little things. A prickle on the back of her neck whenever she passed the hallway mirror. The way her phone screen sometimes lit up on its own, reflecting her face too pale, too elongated. The kitchen window fogging faintly when she stood near it, though the air was dry. Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to Haunted UK Fiction, a sister podcast to The Haunted UK, which features original flash fiction, short stories and novellas with paranormal themes. All stories you will hear were written by a collection of talented writers, authors and storytellers, both independent and professional. In today's episode, we'll be reading The Pale One at the Window, which was sent in to us by Ian Harris. You heard one of Ian's other stories, The Hollow Rooms, in Season 1 of the podcast. Ian grew up with paranormal occurrences and, to this day, more than 30 years on, they still happen. His real-life experiences can be found on the Haunted UK podcast episode 62, titled 30 Years and Counting. Ian is very empathetic and can sometimes even see people's auras and moods or read the atmosphere and the energy of a room. He is heavily inspired by local folklore and stories. Now get comfortable. Grab a little something to sip on, perhaps cuddle up under a blanket to help offset the chills coming your way. And let's dive into the story. Part 1. Inheritance. Sarah hadn't wanted the farmhouse. It came to her after her grandmother's death, passed down like a curse wrapped in legal documents. She stood in front of it on the first day of September, suitcase in hand, and thought, "This house doesn't want me." It was a hulking thing, built in 1891 according to the tarnished plaque near the door. Grey boards leaned under their own age, windows sagged inward like tired eyes. There was no paint left, only wood, stripped bare by time and weather. The villagers had warned her, gently with words wrapped in politeness, but steeped in unease. "Stay out of the east bedroom at night," the grocer told her when she came to town for bread. "Don't stand in front of the mirrors for too long," an old woman advised as Sarah collected her grandmother's prescriptions. And once, late in the evening, a boy, barely 13, whispered, "If you hear tapping after midnight, don't answer." She'd laughed them all off at first. Country superstitions, that's all. People in towns like this lived on folklore as much as bread. But on her third night in the house, Sarah dreamed of her grandmother. In the dream, her grandmother lay in the east bedroom bed, her body wasted thin, her eyes fever bright. She reached for Sarah's hand and whispered, "She comes to the glass. Don't let her see you." Sarah woke, choking on her own breath. The farmhouse groaned around her, its beams stretching with the night wind. And the east bedroom window, bare of curtains, bare of anything at all, was shining faintly in the dark. Part 2. Eyes in the glass. By the second week, Sarah couldn't shake the sense of being watched. It wasn't dramatic at first, just little things. A prickle on the back of her neck whenever she passed the hallway mirror. The way her phone screen sometimes lit up on its own, reflecting her face too pale, too elongated. The kitchen window fogging faintly when she stood near it, though the air was dry. She tried to dismiss it, but the village's words haunted her. The grocer, the old woman, the boy. Warnings given freely, almost desperately. One evening, determined to prove herself ridiculous, Sarah went into the east bedroom, the very one where her grandmother had died, and sat on the bed facing the window. The fields stretched black and empty outside, the horizon swallowed by night. Her reflection in the glass was faint, pale with moonlight. She stared at it, dared it. Minutes passed. Nothing moved. But then the reflection tilted its head. Sarah didn't. She sat frozen, watching her own image bend unnaturally, neck craning at a sharp, sick angle. Her mouth went dry. The reflection's mouth fell open too, but wider, stretching too far, skin thinning until the lips split. Sarah bolted from the room and slammed the door. She slept on the couch that night, the hum of the old refrigerator, her only comfort. Part 3. The tapping. It began 3 nights later. Sarah woke at 7 minutes past 3 a.m. to a sound like fingernails on glass. Tap, tap, tap. A pause. Then again. Always 3. It came from the east bedroom. She lay frozen on the couch, every muscle rigid, until dawn came, and the sound stopped. The next night, it came again, closer this time. From the hallway mirror. And the night after, she woke to find it inside the living room television screen. The set was off, but in the black glass she could see it. The pale figure pressed against the inside, its face distorted by static, its hands splayed wide against the screen. Tap, tap, tap. Sarah screamed and threw a blanket over the television, but the tapping didn't stop. It moved, window to window, mirror to mirror, even the darkened oven door, the glossy surface of her phone when it lay beside her on the couch. Every reflective surface was a doorway, and it was knocking, patiently, relentlessly, waiting for her to answer. She stopped sleeping after that. Part 4. The Grandmother's Secret. Sarah began searching the house by daylight, desperate to prove to herself that her mind was only fraying from exhaustion. She started with her grandmother's old dresser. Most of the drawers were filled with nothing more sinister than yellowed blouses, lace handkerchiefs, and the scent of lavender gone stale. But in the lowest drawer, beneath a stack of moth-eaten blankets, she found a box. It was wooden, blackened with age, the lid carved with uneven crosses as though by a desperate hand. The lock had long since rusted. With trembling fingers, Sarah pried it open. Inside were scraps of paper, old letters, journals, newspaper clippings, all brittle with time. She pulled one free, a page from her grandmother's diary, written in a sharp, slanted script. October 12th, 1967. She came again tonight, the pale one. She pressed her face against the mirror until the glass bent inward like water. Your grandfather told me not to look, but it's too late. She knows me now. Another entry a few pages later read, November 3rd, 1967. The priest said to cover the windows, smash the mirrors, but it doesn't matter. She finds her way through anything that reflects, even water, even eyes if you stare too long. Lord help me. I'm so tired. Sarah's breath quickened as she leafed through more pages. There were dozens, all scattered with the same warnings. Don't look at the glass. Don't answer the tapping. Don't let her know your name. The last entry was dated just weeks before her grandmother's death. She has grown bold. She calls me from the mirror in the east room. I hear her tapping at night. 3 times. Then 3 more. She says she only needs one invitation. Just one crack in the glass. Just one whispered word. I won't give it. I won't. Sarah shoved the papers back into the box, her hands shaking. But one clipping slipped free, drifting to the floor. It was a newspaper article from 1933. Woman found dead in farmhouse. Local woman Margaret Ray discovered lifeless before cracked mirror. Eyewitnesses report unnatural pallor. Authorities advise townsfolk to board windows at night. Margaret Ray, her great-grandmother. The pale one had been here long before Sarah was born. Part 5. Hunger. That night Sarah tried to follow her grandmother's advice. She covered every mirror with sheets, every reflective surface with blankets and towels. She even emptied the sink of water, afraid of what might look back. The farmhouse became a blind place, its eyes shut. For the first time in nights, she thought she might sleep. But at 3:07 a.m., the tapping began again. Tap, tap, tap. Pause. Tap, tap, tap. She buried her head beneath the pillow, squeezing her eyes shut. I don't hear it. I don't hear it, she whispered. The sound grew louder, not on glass this time, on wood. On the inside of her bedroom door. Her chest tightened. The tapping paused, and then came the sound of nails dragging slowly down the wood, long and deliberate. When she dared to look, she saw pale light leaking in from beneath the door. Not moonlight, something colder. And then came a voice. It was low, broken, as if scraped from a throat that had never drawn breath. Sarah. Her blood froze. Her grandmother's journals had warned her. Don't let her know your name. She clutched the blanket to her mouth to smother her breathing. The voice came again, closer, pressed against the crack of the door. Sarah, I'm so hungry. The tapping resumed, frantic now, as though claws raked against the wood. She didn't sleep that night. When dawn came, the door bore deep scratches, gouges that hadn't been there before. Part 6. Cracks in the glass. Sarah stopped covering the mirrors. It didn't matter anymore. No matter how many sheets she nailed down, she'd hear them rustling at night, like hands pushing from the other side. She'd wake to find the blankets torn down, the glass bare, smeared with pale prints that faded as the sun rose. On the 12th night, she noticed the first crack in the living room mirror. A thin, jagged line running down the centre like lightning. By dawn, there were more. Each night the cracks spread, not spider-webbing randomly, but widening in deliberate lines, like a doorway being carved into the surface. And always the tapping, louder now, faster, so insistent it rattled the panes of the windows. She stayed awake for days, clutching her grandmother's diary in shaking hands, rereading the last line again and again. I won't give it. I won't. Part 7. The Invitation. On the 15th night the voice came again, not from the window, not from the door, but from the mirror itself. Sarah, open for me. The glass trembled as if struck from behind. Cracks splintered outward, racing across the surface. Sarah staggered backward, shaking her head. No. No, I won't. The voice sharpened, deeper, more urgent. You are already mine. The first time you looked, I saw you. The first time you heard me, you answered. She remembered the night she whispered, "Stop." The first night of the tapping. Her heart sank. That had been enough. The mirror bulged outward, bending like liquid. A pale hand burst through, long fingers clawing the air, nails scraping the floorboards. Sarah screamed and threw the box of journals at the glass. The papers scattered across the room. The hand withdrew, but not all the way. It lingered, twitching, hooked claws scratching as if testing the air. The voice whispered again, soft and sweet. "One word, that's all. Say my name." But she didn't know its name. Her grandmother never wrote it. Perhaps she never dared. The hand slowly withdrew, leaving only the cracked surface behind. For now. Part 8. The Collapse. The villagers didn't come near the farmhouse anymore. Sarah saw them from the upstairs window once, 3 men walking along the road. They glanced up and their faces turned ashen. One of them crossed himself. They quickened their pace without waving. She understood now. They knew. Her family had been feeding this thing for generations, whether willingly or not. Grandmother, great-grandmother, each woman had lived in the farmhouse. Each had kept the pale one trapped behind its glass prisons. But glass breaks, and hunger grows. On the 17th night, every mirror in the house shattered at once. The sound was deafening. Glass rained across the floors, glittering like ice. The windows split in jagged cracks, the television screen imploded, even her phone sitting on the table, fissured with a single final crack. From every broken surface, the pale light bled into the room. And from the light, hands. Dozens of them, thin, bloodless, writhing. Some pressed against the floorboards, some against the walls, all clawing their way free. Sarah stumbled back, choking on her own breath as the first face emerged from the ruin of the living room mirror. The pale one. It was worse outside the glass, skin like parchment stretched too thin over bone, mouth torn wide, eyes black pits that seemed to crawl with movement. Its head lolled sideways, too heavy for its neck. And behind it, more shapes moved. Other pale faces, other mouths stretched too wide, all pressing forward. They had been waiting. Part 9. The Last Reflection. Sarah ran to the east bedroom, slamming the door, though she knew it was useless. The floor trembled under her feet as the things crawled closer. On the nightstand lay one last reflective surface she had missed, her grandmother's silver hand mirror, face down. Sarah picked it up with trembling hands. Her reflection stared back, hollow-eyed, pale, lips trembling. But something shifted behind her image. The pale one's head rose into the glass, looming directly behind her. She realized the truth. The mirrors weren't just doors. They were cages. Fragile cages her family had been tending for generations. And now, the last one had broken. The pale one's mouth moved. This time she heard the word clearly, pressed against her own ear from inside the glass. Mine. The hand shot outward, seizing her wrist. The mirror shattered in her grasp, slicing deep. Blood ran across her skin, red and bright. The last thing Sarah saw was her own reflection smiling back at her, though her lips had not moved. Epilogue. The farmhouse stands empty now. The windows gape with broken glass. The mirrors are gone. The villagers say the house is cursed, but they don't go near enough to find out. At night, though, if you stand on the road and look toward the east bedroom, you might see movement in the window. A pale figure, its head tilted, its mouth open, and if you stare too long, you may hear it. Tap, tap, tap. Pause. Tap, 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 waiting for you to look back. That brings us to the end of this episode. We truly hope you enjoyed this unsettling tale. If you'd like to hear more from Ian Harris, stay tuned to the Haunted UK Fiction podcast, as he has graciously sent in more of his work for us to share. If you have an original story that would send a chill down our spines and you would like to submit it for review, simply send it in to hauntedukfiction@hotmail.com. That's hauntedukfiction@hotmail.com. Until the next time, stay safe and take care.